It's almost done.
Okay.
And you're live.
Okay, great. All righty. Well, we'll start this meeting at 7:02 p.m. And I'll start with the roll call. Dorothy Roll Collins.
I'm here.
Tony Cousins.
Present.
Matt Davis.
Here.
Joyce, Dr. Joyce Roberts.
Present.
And I'm here, so we're all here. The first order of business is to review the minutes. Matt sent those out today, so I'm hoping everyone got a chance to look at them. Are there any questions or adjustments to the minutes as presented? Okay, then without any, can we get a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I make a motion to accept the minutes that have been presented.
Okay.
Second.
Is there, okay, Dr. Roberts, second. Any questions or any other concerns? Okay, if not, then if all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, great. The next item on the agenda is to address any concerns about the code of ethics that the full board actually presented. The full board actually presented no concerns, so we've already accepted the code of ethics. So Dr. Roberts, you could actually present those at whatever meeting you want to for just the full vote. We didn't take the vote at the work session, so at whatever meeting you want to put that on the agenda to vote, have a full board vote for that, as they didn't identify any concerns.
Okay, that's July 13th.
Okay,
That's
great.
the next official board meeting.
Okay. And then the next thing on our agenda was to review the code of ethics. Dr. Roberts did make the adjustments, and what she did is she, I'm not the code of ethics, the self-evaluation. What she did is she added a line for us to evaluate ourselves on whether or not we are being loyal or faithful to the code of ethics. And you will see that in, what section is that? It's like, okay.
The last page.
The last page, the board, just as she did the code of ethics, she added a line that says the board has adopted and annually reaffirms its board norms. So what I thought is when we send this out, anytime we do a self-evaluation, we'll need to send the code of ethics and the board norms to the board members so they could be reminded of what those are. And I just wanted to make sure that this satisfies what we were hoping to get with the norms.
Is there a new document, an updated document?
No, we still are going off the
Okay.
board norms that were presented, we had, I guess, a couple years ago.
No, for the evaluation.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Dr. Roberts, did you send it to Dorothy's Gmail? I'm sorry.
I
board-
sent it to you. With the
Oh, you just sent it
correction
to
on
me?
Yes.
Oh, geez, that was probably not a good idea.
Well, we learn as we go. I thought you would distribute it.
Okay. That was the intent, I will tell you. Okay, let me go. I can send it to you guys like in a few minutes, okay? So sorry.
While we're waiting, I did not number the pages. And so if the document is accepted, that would be the one thing to do, would be to number the pages.
Okay.
And I'm working with the skill level I have. And so I would probably pass that over to a professional to make it look really good. Something like what Matt did with the ad hoc committee. Real polished and professional looking.
Oh, okay, yeah. So.
Regina, if you'd like to go ahead, I'll try to look it up and get it out.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I just have one question.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know, because I was looking over my notes even from last time, if we made a decision about timing on when we would do this.
I thought,
Um,
did we say in July or August?
Yeah, I think we mentioned August, so we could do it twice a year.
Okay.
Once after the new board members have been there for a little bit, and then another time.
And so would
Yeah.
we, what would the format be? So we would fill it out and then would we tabulate it and then discuss it?
What were your thoughts on that, Dr. Roberts?
I'm sorry, I got disconnected. Matt, if you'd be so kind to repeat it.
Yeah, I was just wondering about what the format would look like. So we would send it out, I guess, and everyone would fill it out. And then would we tabulate the results and discuss it?
The format of how we would proceed to get the information to all understand our thoughts.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna throw that out to the group. How do you feel like you want that to move forward? Give me some feedback.
I think we talked about earlier is tabulating it, and those areas that got a lower score, we would actually, as a board, come up with ways on how we can improve, areas that we are weak, even if it means having special training and things like, or a special session to adjust those things were weak, but we weren't going to throw out the idea of not having training if necessary, if we're weak in certain areas, but it would be based on the scores. That's what I remembered.
So it would be something like, well, we probably have to present it to the board and say, this is what it is, and see if anybody has questions about the questions.
Yeah.
Give them a deadline to fill it out. And then maybe would we send it like to Ms. Williams to tabulate and then circulate the scores, and then we would, I guess Dr. Roberts or maybe this committee, I guess, could go through it and then say, well, we've identified these as low scores and we should set a follow-up, either a special meeting or address it in a regular meeting, or if it requires calling MSBA for training on a particular topic. Is that kind of what you're thinking, Regina?
Well, I think that's a good idea. I hadn't thought about this committee actually getting the scores, but I think that's actually a really good idea that we kind of go through it first and then make recommendations on what we can do through training or some other means to improve those low scores. So I think going through the committee will narrow down the discussion some and also develop those suggestions. So I think I didn't think, that was not what I was thinking, but I think it's actually a great idea. So if we could do something like that, what do you guys think about that?
Regina, I'm with you. I like that idea. And if Matt would kind of just put down in writing what he just said, then that would be something that can be shared out along with this document to the full board. Because it's my hope that they review it, and when they come to the meeting, they can have questions prior to, or limit the questions at the meeting prior to approval.
I'm wondering if it makes sense, as I think that all of that is a great idea. For the timing, I wonder if it makes sense to time it to the board retreat, the annual board retreat, holding it or doing the evaluation just prior, so those results are available, perhaps doing the evaluation in June at the end of the fiscal year. And if there's a retreat held in July, or somehow coordinating that so it's available to inform that retreat process.
Right, it's something that can be used
I think that's a
right.
great idea
as a
too.
baseline during the retreat.
Mm-hmm.
So we did it August and then turn around and do it in I guess maybe May, so we have the results in time for the July, maybe a July retreat. That would probably work out well. And then maybe we could have gone through it at that time and even have some suggestions by the time the retreat came.
Were you saying are you saying to do the retreat next year? Because from what I'm hearing Dorothy saying, to try to focus on getting this completed within June sometime, with July, because we are in July of now, to set up a retreat for August or September to review that, to use that as a baseline. That's my understanding.
So I think you're both are interpreting it correctly, and I didn't do a good job of explaining what I meant because so yes, I think we need a retreat, or the board needs a retreat sooner rather than later for this year, but that probably shouldn't wait on the self-evaluation for this year.
Okay.
But then next year, having something, and the evaluation will have been used, like Regina said, at the end of that fiscal year that could inform the following retreat. So ideally, yeah, but I think we have all the parts. You both had like half of it, and I wasn't clear up front. Because I do think, especially based on our discussion at the last meeting, trying to get some retreat before the new school year starts would be a good idea.
Right.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Dr. Roberts.
I'm in agreement with the retreat. I just don't think this document would help this soon because we have new members and they haven't really had an opportunity to delve into all of the work that's identified as that evaluation tool, but certainly a discussion point moving forward. And we need a retreat as soon as possible. And then the next retreat can be anchored around the evaluation.
Yeah, and I was thinking, yeah, and my response was more of kind of an annual thing so we could document something that we do annually and include it in an annual retreat. But yeah, so that's why I was thinking next year in terms of it becoming an annual, a regular part of our annual retreat. But yeah, but this retreat coming up, I didn't think we'd really have time to really have good information just yet. So, okay, great. So I did send you guys the self-evaluation, and the only change that's on it is on I think it's the very last page of the document, and actually the last line also. The board has adopted and annually reaffirms its board norms. So the wording is reflective of what we said about the code of ethics. So each time we do this, we would have to give the most recent code of ethics and board norms. So even if we update the board norms between now and before next year, we would need to include whatever the updated board norms are. So are there any questions or any things we want to add to this self-evaluation? So we do need to take a vote on presenting it to the full board. And if we do vote for it tonight, Dr. Roberts will present it at the next board meeting. So can I get a motion to approve, to move this self-evaluation to the full board for consideration?
Just a quick question, Regina.
Okay.
We're talking about the next work session.
I don't know. That's the question I always had. Can you vote on something at a work session, or do you have to have a full, do things have to go through a work session first and then be voted on? How does that work with the board? I don't know. Dorothy, do you know?
So previous process was that things presented for discussion started in a work session, because that allows for, it kind of provides a more easier to have a dialogue. Okay. You can vote in work sessions, and especially like this time last year, our work sessions, there were a number of voting items because things were changing so rapidly with the pandemic. So it is appropriate to vote at a work session. It has to be noticed, obviously, and be an item on the agenda. It has to be a quorum and all of those things. But the intent is for items for discussion, especially board specific things, things about the board, to run those at a work session, so they can have plenty of time for discussion. But it does not mean that is what the current board wants the process to be.
Okay, so I mean, if we wait to the work session, we're going to really push this back well into August. And I think the goal, I don't even think we meet in August, right?
There are meetings every month. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, for some reason I thought we got a vacation in August. Wow. Okay. Boy, was I wrong on that. Okay. Did you guys have that
That's why we
impression
need
at some
that
point that August
pre-boarding.
was vacation month?
You need
Okay.
that pre-boarding so you know, so everybody knows.
Okay. Yeah. I thought for sure I read something that August all meetings were canceled. Maybe it's something else.
It's an old bylaw that I don't think has been updated on the website.
Ah, okay. And out of all the bylaws I read, somehow I read that one. Okay. So it would be August before we present it, I think, at a work session. Is that right? And do we want to wait that long until August to present this?
Well, that's the question I'm presenting. And so we have to decide if we want to move forward with it on the 13th. And if so, it's incumbent on getting the document out for all of our board members to review and have some questions. We don't want to turn the board regular session into a work session.
When is the next work session? Is that going to be on the 20th, July 20th? Because I think we have 3 meetings in a row.
It should be the 4th Thursday work
Oh,
session, unless there's been a change.
No, it's the 27th then.
Yeah.
So if we did it on 27th, that would mean that in August 9th or August 10th, we could vote on it. So that might be enough time. Dr. Roberts, is that okay with everybody if we present it at the work session on July 27th? And then vote, hopefully go for a vote August.
Yeah, if there's no discussion or concerns like there weren't with the code of ethics, could we go ahead and vote on it at the work session?
That's true. Yeah, if there are no discussion or concerns, we can also vote on it at the work session.
Are we saying vote on it at the work session, which means vote on it July 27th?
Yeah, if there are no discussions or adjustments. If there are adjustments and stuff, we'll have to come back and address those adjustments or questions. But like the code of ethics, officially, we could have voted for it last week or the last work session, but we just held off and didn't. So if we present it and there are no questions or concerns, we can go ahead and vote for it on July 27th.
I guess my only thing that we're looking at, if we're looking, school starts in August. Is it August or the end? So, I mean, I just think a retreat is definitely needed to get the board ready for the upcoming school year. That's just my perspective.
Oh, no, I still think we need to have the retreat, which we'll talk about in the onboarding session, but I still
talk about this document in itself is something we can vote on to have. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the document and voting on it. So
I think that then my vote is yes, I think that'll be fine to go July 27th.
Is everybody okay with that? Matt, Dorothy, yes. Dr. Roberts? Okay. So Dr. Roberts, right now, our goal is to present the self-evaluation at the July 27th meeting. If there aren't any questions or concerns that we can't resolve at that meeting, if we can resolve everything, we'll vote for it also on July 27th, okay?
Okay, now is the plan to get it out as it is prior to, so that we can field those questions and make some adjustments?
As a matter of fact,
when we get to the 27th, we'll be ready to really kind of vote with some discussion.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna have another meeting before the 27th because of our schedule, so.
On this committee.
Huh?
This committee. Are you talking about the board vote, Dr. Roberts, or are you talking about this committee having more work?
I'm talking about the board vote. If we're in agreement on the document tonight, it's a draft. We can send it out to our other colleagues for some input. And then we can get that and have it ready to go and vote on the 27th with minimum discussion, because we've been proactive and covered that prior to the 27th.
Yes. Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll send it out tonight. Okay. Just because I have a funeral tomorrow. So I'll send it out tonight if we vote for it. Okay. Okay.
Are you ready for your motion, Regina?
Yes, I'm ready for the motion.
I will move to recommend the board self-evaluation to the full board.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Are there any questions? Or if not, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? No. Okay, so the ayes have it. So the next update is on the bylaws, and Tony and I did meet, and this is the plan of action we took. There are a lot of board policies. So there are about 15 different sections in the board policies, and each section, each major topic has a lot of subtopics. So Tony and I thought what we'd do is we'd actually start going through the sections and really presenting to you what we think what changes need to be made. If there are no changes to be made, we'll let you guys know that. But we're just going to take, a couple sections at a time, present those to you guys, and then just move forward. And as you guys' time become available, we're hoping that you guys will join us with us and take a section. Instead of us each trying to go through every policy, in a meeting, which would take forever, we just think it's wise that we just take sections at a time as individuals and then present what we think the changes should be. So what we'll be presenting to you guys are the originals, and then the changes we think should be made. The original policies, and then the changes we think should be made. I want to make sure that's okay with you guys, if you guys are okay with that approach, because I think if we don't do it that way, it's just going to take forever if we try to go through each one of these in the meetings and try to sort through all the policies at a meeting. So are
you going through all the policies or just Article 9, the bylaws of the board?
I'm just talking about Article 9, and there are a lot of sections in just Article 9. Tony and I took the first two, which are Article 0 and Article 1, and I think Article 0 had like 7 different policies, and then Article 1 had like 15 different, stated policies, which is, the first one is organization, Article 0 is organization, Article 1 is filling vacancies, and so there's just a lot of different.
Yes. So the only ones that are the bylaws of the board that govern the actions of the board itself is Article 9. Articles 0 through 8 largely are what govern the whole district and are more administrative.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am talking about Article 9. Article 9, the first part in Article 9 is organization. The second part of Article 9 is filling vacancies. So.
Okay, but each of those are just one policy.
Well, in organization, let's see here.
Some of them have a policy and some, and also a regulation.
Okay. Thank you, because I was reading, okay, I see. I was reading all the different articles. You're right. Each one is a separate policy.
Now, some also, we have a very strange structure. So some also have a regulation, which is an unusual structure, but for the most part, there is no more than one policy and one regulation for each of these policies within Article 9.
Okay, and this way it's constructed on the website is actually very confusing, because I have Article 9 up and then I have all these other sections under it. But to be honest, under Article 9, you have 9100 through 9359, and they do just have one. And I literally was going through all the articles. So it's not near as daunting as I thought it would be. Okay, very good.
So that's not to say that all of the policies don't need to be updated, because they definitely do. But I think that's what Jeff has been, and Dr. Adams have been talking about in the meetings. Those the other articles. There are a couple places where the Article 9 will reference in particular some things in Article 0. So there are some places where they need to make sure they're in alignment, but the bulk of them, and there's one or two in Article 1 as well, but almost all of them that we would need to start with for the purposes of this committee, starting with Article 9 will cover cover most of those things.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because I really did read this the website wrong. So what I'm going to do, Tony, is I'm going to actually get these to you differently. Okay, so I mean, so I could take half of them, you could take half of them, and we could get through them a lot quicker because it's not near as many as I thought there were. So there literally are, just scanning through this quickly, maybe 16. Okay. So
now some of these have been updated, and that's not, for whatever reason, has not been updated on the website.
yeah, I think they're under updates. Yeah,
they're not though, because I was just looking at that section, and
Oh,
there are
okay.
some that we updated in the past 1 to 2 years that I'm not seeing
Oh, really? Huh.
on here. I don't
Who's
think
the
it's like
keeper
these
of
are
that,
Right,
Dorothy? Because I asked Mr. St. Omer and he assured me they were all updated.
well, okay. So I'm looking through these update here. Okay, I'm
Uh-huh.
confused. They are listed in here as updates, but the bottom, like where it has the revised,
Uh-huh.
does not include the current revised date or the most recent revised date. I'm looking at 9130. That
Right.
this is correct to what we voted for, I believe, in March.
Uh-huh.
No, this is, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me stop talking for a second.
9130 shows the last update to be February
No,
5th, 2002.
and this is not, so this one we did update, but I'm really confused, you guys.
Dorothy, I'm with you. I think we did it, but it never transferred to the website
Wow.
in terms of being updated.
Because I know we did, there were 2 policies that we did about grievance. We updated the election one and
the committees.
the committees, but I don't think that's, I don't think the committee one, I don't remember, I would have to go back and look, but we reworded the committee one.
Well, I have with me, I have
differently.
personally the committee one and I have the election one. So I have those 2.
Do those match what's in here on the update section?
Let me see.
But that, it's not my recollection that it is, and then there's no revised date at the bottom.
Probably let me see, 90 there.
But I believe we also did 9150.
If you look under update on the next page under Article 9,
Yeah, that's what I'm looking. Doesn't look like the.
there's no dates. There are no dates there to capture it. It just simply says adopted and or revised.
Well, let me get with Mr. St. Omar to try, because he should have possession of all the updates, right?
That is correct. I'm trying to look back in my. When did we do that, y'all? Was that in March?
Which one are you?
Yeah, it had to be in March because it was right close to the elections that we had. So
I couldn't remember if it was March or April. I had too many notebooks, you guys.
April, so I can't imagine it being April.
Can we make a note of that?
Yeah.
Virginia,
Yeah, and because I do have at least the most recent 2. And what I'll do is I'll talk to Mr. St. Omar about any updates that we had so that we can. Oh yeah, it was. I think I have March 9th for the bylaw update on 9120 and 9130 draft. Those drafts are there, and I have both of those.
So, and I also, for consideration, if the updates weren't in a separate spot, but if they could be incorporated
Yeah, right.
into the rest of them. So even if these, to my recollection, these updates do not include the changes that have been made by the board. Okay, we did 9120 and 9130. So
Right.
I don't see 9120 on here, and this 9130 I don't think is what was approved by us in March,
Right.
because
right.
Regina, you had made that amendment about the 5/7 vote thing
Right.
about cause, and so,
Mhm.
so two things would be to make sure they're updated, and if they have already been updated and we're just not able to find them, pointing us in the direction of where they are, and then trying to make sure that we can incorporate them amongst the other ones.
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm looking at 9120 here. That was one that we adopted on March 10th, and it has not been updated in either place.
Okay. So what I will do is I'll talk to Mr. St. Omar to get all the updates, and then I'll talk to, I guess, Miss Shamika about getting them organized correctly in the website, so the updates are actually there and dated correctly within the sections. And then the other thing I'm going to do is, Tony, I'm going to get all of these back to you, and then I'm going to split them in half so that you can take half and I'll take half, and we'll just update those, because it's a lot less daunting now that I realize what I'm supposed to be looking at. And what we'll do is we'll go over them, present the changes we think that should be made, give you guys what the originals were, what the new ones are, and then we'll discuss them and get through them, the best we can. We won't try to rush through them, but we'll try to get through them as swiftly as we can. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
Okay, great. And then,
Virginia, just a quick question. When you say get through them, you're going to work through them and then bring them back to this committee?
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And what we may do is we may get a few and have a meeting and go through the few that we've gotten through, and then do some more, so that we won't just try to take one meeting and try to get through all of them, because I think that won't happen. Okay. Okay, but I'll get back with Tony so that we can organize ourselves on that. Now, we'll say that it will definitely affect when we meet next, because that's going to take us a little time. So, okay, so that's the update on bylaws. Dorothy, do you want to update us on onboarding? And can you talk about a retreat now that Dr. Roberts is here, and then we can kind of confirm when we'll have that retreat, okay?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna let Matt lead on this. He's been looking to try, they're like doing the legwork on the retreat stuff.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so our last meeting, Dorothy asked us to get her some thoughts on onboarding materials and onboarding goals besides just onboarding, but more in-depth goals. And I started talking to her about that. And in that same conversation, we talked about the need for a retreat for new members, but since this board is a lot of new members, we need one right away. But making that part of our permanent onboarding process, but to include that now. So and sort of investigating those sorts of things, and what the suggestions are for school board retreats, it seemed to make sense that we kind of combine those two processes to get together and work out sort of what the onboarding process should be at the same time of actually doing an initial onboarding meeting for our board. So there's probably two things that we need to discuss. I think the first is the need for a facilitator. I mean, it would be my recommendation that we hire a professional, and open to suggestions about that. I know MSBA lists that as a service. And so they're always a resource, but there could be others as well. And I may have thoughts on that.
Do we have dollars in the budget for a facilitator? Okay.
Yes. Okay. I think Ms. Williams said we have a $10,000 line item and we spent about 230.
Yes. Okay. I mean, I always am more inclined to go toward a facilitator who has lots of years of experience, so, and with different boards. So
I agree. I think we should definitely have a facilitator, and I definitely think we should have someone who's very familiar with this being on the school board or being on the state school board, the local school board, and just having some insight and experience to what's been going on overall through the years that can give us some insight and better training on how to adapt to the situation that we're in. Because we are in, I think our board is a lot different than many boards that are out there. And I know the what is the SBM? What is it?
MSBA.
MSBA, all these acronyms. I know that they have a lot of skill sets and expertise, and they bring a lot, but we are still unique. And it's some things that they don't know that we need to know, in my opinion.
I guess I would just like to add too, in addition to a facilitator, I would like to hear from, maybe Dorothy or someone who's actually led the board for a while to make sure that we have those unique things that, because a facilitator can help us overall as a board, but they may not have worked in the St. Louis City board. I mean, unless we get a facilitator who was on the St. Louis City board, that would be ideal. But if we can't get someone like that, then I think it's going to be important that, Dr. Roberts and Dorothy also play a part in this retreat, because to get that insight that's maybe unique to St. Louis City's, the St. Louis City School Board.
So we could have a professional facilitator, but also you're suggesting invited guests with expertise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when are we talking about doing this? Because I mean, school's going to be starting before we know it.
Dr. Roberts.
Summer's almost over.
Dr. Roberts is trying to talk, but she's on mute. So
okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm off mute now. But that was my question, Regina. Matt, have you identified some time frames? And that's going to be critical as we try to engage every board member to participate.
Well, I was shocked today to learn that it was July.
I know.
I don't know where that came from. I mean, I think ideally we said before school starts. Well, that means August.
The first week or something.
Yeah. And I mean, perhaps that's doable. Perhaps it's not. I don't know.
Well, let me just throw this out. What kind of retreat are you thinking of? Are you thinking of something similar to an overnight experience, or are you thinking of coming together maybe a Friday evening and a Sunday? And so I think that in and of itself would be helpful.
I'm open to suggestions. I thought we make it as simple for everybody at first. And so if it's, like you said, a Friday evening and a Saturday, doing something maybe broken up into 2 half days over the weekend might be easier for everybody.
Yeah, that's what I would, I think I would prefer maybe 2 days broken up in 2 days, maybe 4 hours each day, something like that. Friday for me. But
just for the record, for me, I know everyone, well, some of us have grown kids and some of us have younger kids, but I do know the second week of August, toward the end of August, is going to be a challenge for me because I'm trying to get my son in college. So I mean, he'll be going away to college, so we know, because I'm sure it's not just me, but other board members may have things going on around that time as well.
Yeah, I would try to narrow down the date as soon as possible, just because, we don't have many weeks left before school starts.
Well, if we want a tentative, let me look at the actual calendar. So I'm making it up, because that's how I get surprised of the month.
And it was July. That's how you got surprised it was July?
Shocking. Yes. So we could look at like the weekend of the 7th of August.
Yeah.
To make it early enough in August.
Antoinette, Tony, when does your son go off to college?
August 16th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that weekend, first weekend, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing to consider, I don't have it pulled up, is the district calendar. just thinking of, so, and I want to kind of make sure before we get too deep in the weeds on the facilitator piece, go back. I know, Matt, you were going to talk about like, what the goals were, because depending on what the goals are, that might influence which administrators are in attendance. So clearly Dr. Adams would be there and the board. But if there are other administrators trying to balance, because when the weeks that principals come back, they're so PD heavy that might not be ideal. So I think I would encourage looking at the district calendar, and then if possible, trying to do it in July, as there's the pro is that's a lighter month on workload for administrators. The con is that's when everybody goes on vacation because of that. So, there are some things to balance here, depending on the goals of the retreat.
So looking at the district calendar, Dorothy, it looks like the 10.5-month staff actually returns on August the 2nd.
Okay, and I'm looking at the end of July, more so than August for that very reason. And it also depends on, are we getting to know each other? Just what is the point of it for real, in terms of what's the goal? Are we trying to learn to work together? Are there some specific questions? Because it may be that this first retreat is simply close to what Dorothy's working on, the onboarding part, and any questions that may generate in addition to the evaluation instrument. It may also speak to some information that the board may need. And so to say we want to retreat, we want it with a purpose. And it may be that this initial retreat will inform what we need to do next.
I think you just laid out the retreat, Dr. Roberts.
So if we do make
I don't know what I said, Ms. Tony.
But that was really my thought process on it. Basically, team building, things to look at on team building, definitely onboarding. Whatever we do out of this, get from this retreat, will help set the tone for what and how we'll be able to operate moving forward for the upcoming school year. And then in regards to the document that we were talking about, that gives that self-evaluation, gives us time to now really kind of assess ourselves from what we've gotten out of the retreat going into the school year. And then come next year, now we have something to really gauge off to say how, or did this even work, or how impactful it was or wasn't.
So if we limited to that, we may be able to just do maybe a 4-hour retreat this first time, just to then expand it later as we learn from our experiences. Because I've not been on board a whole year yet. And then we have 3 new members too. So maybe we could expand after having maybe an initial retreat of 4 hours where we deal with the onboarding, we deal with things like the code of ethics, the norms, maybe not the policies, since we don't have those yet, but the meeting times, things like that. So
yeah, and I think it'll help during that time as part of that retreat to actually, like we said, bring someone in to give us their perspective, so we'll have a better understanding of how to gauge what we really should be doing.
Yeah,
Governing is what we should be
governing
doing.
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
Not operations,
not operation, and I think that's why that piece is really important. That retreat is really going to be important for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and hopefully, we're doing work on things like goals and superintendent evaluation, things that sometimes are topics of retreats. We're doing that on the 6th to continue the work that's already been done. So we're doing that separately too. So if we focus just on us, communication, I think to make a topic of how we make decisions and the information we need to make decisions. So I think that goes exactly to what you say, Dr. Roberts, governing versus operations.
Exactly.
That's at least 4 hours, and that would be 4 hours incredibly well spent. And we can build off that.
Yeah, I think I'm in line with what you all are saying, that for the first retreat, and I'm just thinking through like some of the questions that have come up as we've been moving through this governance work. Like there's a lot of unknowns about what is the workflow and how do things, how is information moving from the superintendent to the board and back, and where are the bylaws, like who's the keeper of these things, and who almost like if I'm trying to find a theme here, it's about like what are the roles, what is everyone's role, what are they responsible for, and then how does that work and information of that role get communicated across the board and across others. And you are handling the goals and the evaluation on the 6th, and so a lot of this process decision making, like how is the governing like actually happening, that makes a lot of sense to me for a retreat. And while I also agree 50 million% with Tony and Regina's comments about the uniqueness of St. Louis, that is absolutely true. But for this, like, how does the information flow and what is the process of governance? That would be in alignment with what MSBA would be able to help with. And they are very available to us as a board because they understand this strange transition and experiment that, as I like to refer to it. They are sensitive to that and generally will move mountains to be available at the timeframes that we need. And then certainly, I think too, like just because the intent is to have an annual retreat doesn't mean for this specific year and these specific times, you couldn't have one now in July and then do some of these other, talk about how St. Louis is different and the different needs of running a large district of 20,000 kids and 60 buildings, in doing that in October or something. There might be, as all the new board members are coming in, there might be opportunities to have almost like a series of these smaller retreats to kind of pull everybody into the work.
Deep dives, as Dr. Adams would say, deep dives.
Yeah, I agree, Dorothy, but and I think the MSB does really well. Even what I had gone to, and I always want to circle back to Dr. Roberts because I'm glad I did go. I'm really glad that I went down, and being in person makes a huge difference. And I do like what they bring, but I think even if it's a 30-minute presenter or what have, but we need to have a lens on the perspective of someone locally in my, like honestly, Dorothy, with what you had done and what you were doing, what you are, even Dr. Roberts, like what Regina was saying, though, we're going to need some people like you all to really come in and give us a perspective to get us a clear understanding of what we're really doing. Because I'm gonna be honest, and people laugh at me all the time, and I know Regina was laughing at me when I told her, but I honestly just thought we were supposed to meet once a month. Like, I didn't realize y'all was taking my whole life, but I'm okay with that. But
you haven't seen anything yet.
But I'm just saying, I think we should have MSB come in, but I think it makes sense to have someone like you all as well come in that can give us another perspective too.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because it's kind of like the person doing the facilitating, that kind of job is separate from this like perspective giving or that overview of just like, how did we get here to this moment in St. Louis? Because what we're doing here, this transition in governance, has not happened anywhere else. It is new, it is unique to us. There has not been a full board that was dropped in governance.
Wellston.
Never happened.
Happened in Wellston
So,
first.
while in some respects it's been too great,
Dorothy,
it's also, this is
Dorothy, you're
going to
breaking
be
up a little bit, so we're missing some of what you're saying.
I'm sorry, I don't have anything else. Can you hear me now okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Am I back? Okay. So what I was saying is like, this is new. It has never happened anywhere else. There is not a playbook, that we can pick up and use. And so I was noticing 2 years ago today, the board came back into governance, which is on one hand, feels like a lifetime ago, but on the other, in the scheme of the history of the district, right, 150-year-old district, it's just a little drop. And so this transition is going to take a number of years to fully kind of even everything out. So yeah, Tony, your point is well taken, that probably needs to be crisply laid out to have everyone hear the same things.
Is there a way that we could maybe present a date for a retreat on the 6th, or is that not possible since that's a closed session?
Could we do the ask Miss Williams to do a doodle poll?
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. With a few dates in mind, maybe not going past. Do we prefer a Saturday morning or Friday evening, just amongst us? I'll put all the dates. I'll put the weekend, Friday evening and the Saturday morning dates for July 30th, July 31st, and August 6th and August 7th. Let's see what we can get.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll ask Shamika to do that. And then Matt, will you and Dorothy maybe work based on the conversation tonight, work out an agenda?
So should we contact then MSBA?
Yeah, we'll
I think we need an agenda first.
Okay.
Okay.
Then once we can kind of get some feedback on the agenda, then it would make sense to contact MSBA if indeed that's who we need. I did want to say, Regina, as you were going through the dates and you said something about July, what, the 30th?
Or 31st, yeah.
Okay. And the other piece that I think is going to be critical to Dorothy's point is there needs to be some kind of historical framework as to how we got here. And I don't know if every board member would know that. And that wouldn't take a lot of time, but it would be important to know how we arrived at the place that we're in currently. And the only other district that was taken over before St. Louis Public Schools was Wellston, and they didn't have a playbook then either. And so there are some lessons learned that we could really provide some kind of historical framework. Not a lot of time spent on it, but then you'll understand why we're the only metropolitan school district among the 500, and how many do we have? 22 school districts in the state of Missouri.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, we could get the agenda fairly soon. Now, who contacts the state? Dr. Roberts, is that a responsibility that you have to contact MSBA?
Yes.
Okay. So if we get the agenda fairly quickly, that would be great, just to see if we could get someone even in those dates. Okay.
Okay.
Well, if we can do the dates, we can do the agenda. We need to solidify the dates.
Oh, okay. So you do we should have the dates first. Okay. Well, I'm gonna put out a note to Shamika tonight to try to put that poll out tomorrow, if that's possible, to see when we could get the dates. Okay.
I'm wondering if it makes sense for us to work with the facilitator to create the agenda, so that way, not saying that they make it themselves, but if it's jointly, so that way they're not just trying to, that it's a collaborative process, so that the facilitator then actually understands what it is that we're wanting. I mean, is that what you're saying, or you want? I'm just not clear.
I have not do that, but I think, go ahead, Dr. Roberts.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Virginia.
I was just thinking that would be a good idea, because we have to lean on their experience to maybe help us even understand. We'll come up with the ideas, but we need to lean on their experience to help us understand maybe those things we're missing that we can fit into that 4-hour session. So I think we have some ideas, like we want, someone to come and give our history, give us their perspective from the St. Louis City School District, but then also help us understand what governance means as a board and what those things are. And they could give us certainly perspective on that. So,
okay, I want to also share that there are some key pieces that's in that CBM manual that lends itself to governance. And although it's a huge piece, hold on for a second.
Okay.
Have all board members had the initial training?
Matt, I think you're the only one perhaps.
Mine is in like 2 weeks.
Okay. With that said, do you have access to the online material from MSBA?
Yes,
It's
I
the
haven't.
same thing that's in the binder.
Yeah,
You just need it in person.
I'm supposed to get a FedEx on my binder, I think, next week, but I do have online access.
Okay, then I just want to direct your attention to just a few things that would help build the agenda. Because we're not trying to cover everything in this 4-hour retreat. We're trying to get the basics so that we have some common language and understand our role to use data to inform decisions. So in that binder, there are a couple of pages that just kind of make sense. Page 18 would be 1, and I can put this in a short note. Page 25, just to give you some idea of some things that will help guide the discussion and help to create the agenda. Because I don't think we need to turn our agenda over to somebody else to create for us. There's some questions that are swirling around in everybody's mind now that may be the starting point. But there's certainly some pages that we could use to guide that discussion. Page 127 in that binder would be helpful. Also to know what our guiding documents for governance are. And that's another page in that binder. So.
What page is that, Dr. Roberts?
Let me see.
I got 1825, 127.
Okay, the other page is page 141, the strategic plan. And the last one is what our guiding documents are that we should be real comfortable with. And that includes, I've lost that page. Our guiding documents are the professional development plan, the superintendent's evaluation, the budget, the policies, and how we create our board agendas. Those are our guiding documents. And so that pretty much helps to frame what that first retreat could be.
Are you wanting, Joyce, are you wanting to reach out to MSBA and work with them on this, or do you want me and Matt to work with them on the agenda?
Well, I trust you in that. I'm just
okay.
Making reference to
no,
the documents that we have available to us to help guide that process.
No, I think that's great. It's a huge help. I wrote all those page numbers down. I have my binder in another part of my room here, but I just didn't want to overstep. And so I wanted to just make sure it was okay with you if we reached out to build this agenda in line with these suggestions. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. And so are you going to do that after we get the dates for the retreat, after the Doodle Poll?
I think, I mean, while you're working on dates, I think we can start talking about format, if that's okay.
Okay.
Because at some point it will take place, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. And sometimes the availability gathering can take a ridiculously long time.
Yes.
Believe it or not, Dorothy, it's been happening quickly.
What's that?
Oh, you can't hear me.
Great.
Getting people together to respond.
Okay, so what we'll do is I'll put out the email to Shamika to try to get that poll out, if possible tomorrow, but certainly as soon as possible, to confirm a date. And in the meantime, Dorothy and Matt will work with MSBA to get an agenda set. And as soon as we get the date, we'll let you guys know so that we could try to confirm a date with an NBS MSBA facilitator. I do want to just make sure we also add, Dorothy or Dr. Rob, somebody to kind of go over those, that maybe 30 minutes to go over some of that history and those St. Louis things. Okay. Great. Thank you. The next item is to schedule the next meeting, and the two things we still have to address are, of course, the policies of the board for the board and the onboarding. And given in light of that these are going to take some time, I am actually going to recommend that we push this meeting back to maybe sometime in August to begin again, so that we give us time to really go through these things, because I think they're time consuming. And I'm hoping that maybe we can start meeting again, maybe in the middle of August, since we have two major things kind of accomplished. We have, a retreat we're going to be doing. I'd say we've done fairly, actually extraordinarily well. And so I would like to maybe push back our next set of meetings to maybe restart in sometime in August. Is everybody okay with that? That gives Dorothy and Matt time to work on onboarding a document, but also gives Tony and myself time to work on these policies. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll put out some dates to you guys a little later next week to talk about what dates and times in August, just so you guys can look at your schedules to see if things have changed. Because Dorothy, you'll start classes again. You'll have to see when your classes are, and I have to also see if I'm teaching next semester too, to see when my classes are. And then I'll put out some dates and stuff, and then you guys can tell me what dates and times would work well with you guys. Okay. Okay,
Are you
great.
going to give us 3 dates, and we'll select? Is that going to be another doodle poll?
No, I'm just going to send it out to you guys for this, for the just us, the governance committee. So I'll just send that out to you guys next week, okay? And then, so we won't be scheduling a meeting. I'll send out some dates, and then you guys can let me know what works, okay? Okay, very good, very good. I'm really excited about getting 2 things voted on, and then also having this retreat. That's pretty exciting. So not that there's not tons of work still to do, but I think we've done quite a bit in a short time. Is there anything else that we need to address tonight?
I have a point of information.
Okay, go ahead, Dr. Roberts.
Please mark your calendar for July 9th for the legislative roundtable.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
It's July 9th. Okay, great.
will that be in the morning again, Dr. Roberts?
Geez.
Okay.
Flying to Minneapolis again. I had one aunt die last week. I was in Minneapolis for him the night we had our funeral. My uncle died, so I'll be flying out that day. So for my uncle's funeral. So you guys, you guys would be fine. All right. So anything else?
I have a point of information as well. Mark your calendar for July 15th for the legislative committee. You should have gotten an invite.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm real bad at not reading the whole email. I just thought that was inviting you to the committee. I didn't know that was inviting you to a meeting.
Well, so it's both. So everybody all the board is invited. Some of us are serving as, to convene the committee, but if you can come, it'd be great.
Yeah, I would love to go to the first meeting, especially just to get it. I'll go back and read that email and then sign up for it just to attend the meeting. That'd be great. Thank you.
Matt, would you send it to me again? I opened it and it just disappeared. It disappeared, as the kids would say.
If I can't, I'll ask Miss Willis to send it.
Okay. If there's nothing else, can then we get a motion to end?
I will motion to adjourn.
To adjourn. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Everybody is second, so everybody's excited about the journey. So if there are no questions or concerns, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. I already sent out the